Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willow Journals. Welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of a series that I've started in 2023 where I'm going through every one of my completed journals page by page to see what I can learn from them about my creativity, about my style, about how I journal, about how I want to journal in the future, and anything about life and identity. We'll see what comes out. So this one is a journal that I completed in 2018. So the first video in this series was a flip through of my 2017 yearly journal, the very first journal that I ever made and completed. And I'm going to try to do the series chronologically as much as possible because, you know, I work in multiple journals and sometimes I stop and start in journals. But this one I completed in one go because it records a holiday that I went on in August in 2018. I made it out of an envelope, a large envelope. You can see here the flap of the envelope. And for the cover, I decorated it using a scanned or photocopied image of a t-shirt that I got on that holiday. My birthday is in early September, so this was a holiday with my mum, sister and nephew, and they bought me my birthday presents on the trip since it was close together. And my mum bought me this t-shirt and I just printed out a copied version of it with the butterflies and love how that looks. Thought that was pretty clever. Thought that was pretty cool to use clothing and like a souvenir from the trip for the cover. Now, I went to town with this journal. I collected lots and lots of goodies on that holiday. I collected pamphlets and brochures and receipts and anything I could get my hands on, knowing that I was going to create this journal. I also took lots of photos of that trip, and with my nephew there, I helped him collect things for his journal too, because each time we went on this holiday, it's a bit of a tradition that we go every year. We had a 2-year break during COVID, but we've gone 3 times so far now, and each time my nephew and I journal about our trip. So what I've done for the inside covers is piece together brochures and pamphlets and flyers from the trip to, I guess, create a collage. Cut out the bird, fussy cut the bird, got the butterfly here, and information about Coranda here. I even decorated the flap. I have this thing where when I come back from a holiday or at the end of a party or at the end of a camp or a big event, I get really sad, like quiet sad, because it hurts. It feels really painful to let go and have to say goodbye to that really amazing trip, holiday, event, party, whatever it was. And I'm always left with this really painful feeling in my heart of loss and life seems so dull afterwards, I guess. And one thing that I learned pretty early on in my life was a tool to cope with that feeling, and that was to journal. If I could journal about the trip, the event, the party, whatever it is, then that helped me to get all of the memories on the page so that they lived on. And that helped me to know to be okay with it, to be okay with letting go of it and moving on with the rest of my life, because I still had a record of it in my journal in a physical, visual, tangible way, as opposed to my fear was that I would forget all the memories inside of me. I'd forget all the feelings that I felt. And all I wanted to do was hang on to them. It made me so sad that they would all disappear eventually one day. All the little details, they would fade away and I'd forget what it was like. I'd forget the feeling that I had while I was there. And so I learned early on, if I just wrote about it and journaled about it, that made me feel so much better. And it gave me a way to transition from whatever it was, the event, the party, the holiday, to real life again. And it helped me to preserve the memories, one, and also to process them and move on from them and let them go. So I had that same feeling after my first trip to Cairns. That's where we went. And when I got back, I was like, oh, so miserable because it was over and it was gone, and I never wanted to forget these memories, and I needed a way to process it all. I needed a way to celebrate it, honor it, and document it, and give me a therapeutic way of moving on and letting go of it. And it worked, because these journals take a long time to put together and fill up, and by the end of it I'm just like, oh, I can't be bothered writing anymore. And that told me I've moved on from the trip now. I'm in real life again. We're all good. So I just got a library card with all the details of the trip and a photo of the place we stayed at, and I used pages that I coloured in with my nephew while I was there, the train ticket. Yeah, took lots of photos, decorated it with lots of maps and flyers and brochures. Got a postcard that came with the house that we stayed at. Bougainvillea was growing out the front of the door, so I pulled that off one of the trees, or I think it was on the ground, salvaged it. Beautiful pool, backyard area, maps, the soap from the place we stayed at, a feather from the wildlife habitat that we went to. Just, yeah, lots of memories in here. Doing swatches of different colours. My mum brought her pencils and we did a lot of drawing and things while we were there. My nephew did this in the background, so I'm using pages from the actual trip for the journal. Mossman Gorge, so beautiful. That's the map of Mossman Gorge. So I try to pair everything together. So in the order that we did things, I tried to put all the things that I collected from that event on that day. So we went to Mossman Gorge here, so I bound in the Mossman Gorge pages here when I was going to document about that. Kuranda was next, so I documented Kuranda on the Kuranda pages. This was so fun. I love this. It's so clever. A little cellophane window. I probably can't see that very well. But yeah, I cut out a square or rectangle in the page and decorated it with some cellophane because that was one of the crafts I brought. I brought a whole bunch of craft for my nephew to do while we were away, and that was one of them, to make a cellophane picture. And while I was there, I had a journal, a travel journal. I believe I did. Did I? To record that trip. I think I did. I'll have to pull that one out because I needed a flip through of that one. And so when I'm writing all this stuff, I was just rewriting my notes from that travel journal. I'll have to go look. I'm not sure if I did or not, but if I did, I'll do a flip through of that later on. So there was this nest of ospreys along one of the roads. Oh, this is all coming off, this glue. That's okay, all the memories are in here. Then we went to Bird World, I think it was called, and this bird landed on my shoulder and it ate one of my shirt buttons. Luckily it was just the top button, so I didn't really need it, but still. Salt and pepper from the train ride back. And I got a meal. This is a bag from the train. The butterfly house. That was one of my highlights. That was so beautiful. And just all things in the pockets. I think this is one of the pamphlets and brochures. The photos of the house. Yeah, there's the bird that was on my shoulder. And it was nibbling away. Before I know it, I've lost a button. And then my mum had to get it off because I was worried that it was going to eat more and more of my buttons. These are some of the papers I did while I was there that I used as papers in this journal. I just scanned them, printed them out on card because I thought I'd use these as journaling cards, but I didn't. But anyway, nice idea anyway. That must have been on the train on the way back. Butterfly house, bird world. So yeah, matching up all the pictures to go with the pages. Aren't they just striking, the colours that they have? Amazing. My nephew got a souvenir and I bought him this one as a souvenir. He called it Parry. The spoon from ice cream we had. Oh, I think that's just like a little bag. I got a postcard from the butterfly house. Isn't that beautiful? So I like that's in a bag so I can use that in a different way if I want later on. Australian Butterfly Sanctuary. So that was using the bag that came from the gift shop. So what am I learning from this journal? I'm learning how you can use pamphlets and brochures and bags and all different things that you pick up from your travels to not only make your journal but decorate your journal. So I really love all of that. It was just really important to me back then to keep all these things, gather them. This was my birthday present from my sister. She got these butterfly jewelry pieces for me at the butterfly house. Back to Mossman Gorge here, the Mossman pages. There's some pockets here. I did a mandala. I must have done a mandala while I was there and bound that into the journal. So yeah, because I've gone on this trip 2 more times, I'm not so fussed about collecting so much stuff anymore. Maybe a postcard here or there from each place. Like, I still like getting at least one thing from each place. But before my first trip, I got everything I could grab my hands on because I knew I wanted to bind the journal and make the journal out of the items. Now when I do record my trip, I don't bind my own journal anymore. I just want things to stick on the page. Feeding the kangaroo was a highlight. That was such a big highlight, and patting the kangaroo. Loved it so much. And that was the beach out the front of the house that we stayed at. Another map. There's the train, the book that I read on the train. And because I already have this big record of the trip, I don't need to collect all the same things again each time. My mum's pencils. My nephew and I got some sand and some stones and some memories from the trip. So I actually made him a journal beforehand, before going on the trip. And so he could record his own journal, and here's some pages from his journal. But yeah, I knew that I would use this as my version of the journal. And there's some extra pamphlets in the back. So yeah, I'm not really fussed about these. If I didn't have these, I wouldn't mind. But back then, it was such a big thing for me to record everything, to get as much ephemera I could get my hands on, to record every detail. You know, keeping your train tickets, that was fun. Your luggage tags, a feather from the place. Like, I love all this stuff. Keeping the sand. That's great. I love the photos. I love the combination of this with the photos, with the pages and the brochures and the postcards, the tags, the tickets, like that. I do love that. Using the bags, that's quite fun. It's not the most beautiful journal in the world, but it served its purpose in terms of me just wanting to get everything down in one place to remember everything by. And it got me through. By the time I finished this journal, I was in the real world again and happy to let go of this memory. I mean, we hold on to the memory forever. It will always be inside, but I could move on and live my life now that it was all in here. So yeah, after doing that first time though, I wouldn't do a journal like this again for that trip. I'm happy just having a pre-made journal and sticking things on the pages. But it was fun adding things from the trip as the pages themselves. Like all of these are pages from the trip. I think the reason why I'm not so fussed about doing this now, as much as it's so engaging and interactive and authentic and real to the trip, is because I just like blank pages. This is too busy and fussy for me, is I guess what I'm figuring out. It's a bit clashy, too much for my eyes to take in. It's not beautiful. I like aesthetics, you know. One of my core values is beauty. I like things to be beautiful as well as functional and meaningful. So this is functional and meaningful. It just doesn't have the beauty element to it. But that's okay. It served its purpose. It gave me what I needed at the time. Just going forward, I know I probably wouldn't do this type of thing again. Yeah, I would maybe just collect the things and paperclip them in rather than make the journal from those things. So I was much more a junk journaler back when I first began, I guess, where I would use proper pages from real life as the pages in the journal, whereas now I'm happy just using plain pages that I can decorate myself. So maybe one thing I've realized is I'm not as much a junk journaler in the journals that I make for myself, but I love journaling in the junk journal style. in that visual way. So I'd still use all the same things, I just might not put them as the pages, and I'd use them to paperclip them in, tuck them in an envelope, or that kind of thing. So yeah, interesting. This does remind me of my 2017 journal in that style. It's very visual, very clashy, very, very scrappy, messy, junky style, and fun for what it is. Fun for, yeah, it's what I was loving at the time, I guess. But as well, I didn't really know what I was doing, so it's not really me. It doesn't have that beauty to it that I really love and want when I look at a journal. So I was just experimenting, I guess, with that junk journal style and working out how to do things and just putting anything on the page. Whereas now, with experience, I can know what I like, what goes together to create more beautiful, aesthetically pleasing pages to my eyes. To someone else's eyes, they might love this style. They love this junky, visual, bold, clashy style. Me, no. I like more of an organized, streamlined, spacey, airy, room to breathe, room to rest on the page. But yeah, that's what I got out of this flip through. Hope you enjoyed that look at my journal and my thoughts and how it taught me and how my style is, changing throughout the years and through my journals. I'm going to have a look around and see if I can find my travel version of this, if I did have one. I have a memory that I did have one because I'm pretty sure I transferred notes from that into here. So I'm going to look for that, and then I'll be back sharing the next journals that I completed and see what I can learn from those. Alright guys, let me know if you're enjoying this series, and be sure to journal your life because your stories matter. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys. A big thank you to my beautiful patrons who supported me in November. I hope you absolutely loved all of the extras this month. And if you would like to support me in December and get access to extra videos and printables, behind the scenes updates, and first access to any of my creations, the link is down below in the description box. The links are also down there to all of my journaling courses. The Reflections journaling course is running all through December if you would like to document your year for 2022. And if you would like to support my book fundraiser, the link is there to my GoFundMe page as well.